headed to Dana Point. We're leaving San Diego, left Mission Bay. This is La Jolla, off to starboard. And we're gonna have some fun talking about Dana and Dana Point. Okay, here's what we're doing. Just to explain it, I teach California history down in Point Loma, and I teach 2 years before the Mast, and and it's a great book. And here's Dana's trips up and down for 2 years, this college kid. And I made a video during COVID. And dang it, if I didn't look on there, there's like 9,000, 10,000 views. And I thought I only had 25 students. So maybe there's a reason, I don't know. I thought I'd do another Dana video. Now, in between, during the COVID time, I wrote this book, which is Winds of Santa Ana. It's about this Southern California. It was really inspired by Dana and sort of thinking more broadly about what Dana thinks about and stuff. So this is a good book, but there's a chapter in here on Dana Point. I think it was actually the first chapter I wrote. And, Dana's a significant guy. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go up and have a look at Dana Point. It's called, the chapter's called As Refreshing as a Great Rock. And that's the statue we're going to see in Dana Point, at least the back of it. At Dana Point, probably can't see it too well in this video, but we're getting there. We're going in. We'll see it well. This is the coast of Orange County, one of the most politically, religiously important counties in America. Let's get this here. That back in there, that's San Mateo Point. And that's there's a creek that goes behind there, up behind it. And that's San Mateo Creek. That's the beginning of Orange County. So what we've done, get back here, is we've come up from San Diego last night in Mission Bay around La Jolla Point. You see how these points, Point Loma, La Jolla Point, San Mateo Point, and Dana Point. And these are the markings of how you get up the coast in a sailboat, which is California had a maritime economy. So this is where we have San Mateo Point with San Mateo Creek, beginning of Orange County. Then we're going to Dana Point, which is here. Yeah, Dana Point, we're going to get in there and I'll show you the Dana statue, which is right there. And then these cliffs, it all becomes crucial to the Dana story. Yeah, all right, we're getting there. The breakwater is what Dana didn't have. We'll talk about that. Dana Point. Henry Dana found consolation in this rock. Dana Point, we're anchored right there. Came in the breakwater here, came down, and you can see the point is actually further out there. When Dana talks about consolation, what he had done, we had anchored and then come in, and then he says the boat crew split and everyone went to the right. He went to the left out here toward where the water was spouting. So he's around that corner. He's around that corner where other people seek consolation on those benches. And he talks about this place being romantic and how this is a great refreshing rock. That's a quote from Isaiah that he's using. So, this is what he did. He came out here and found a rock that talked to him, consoled him, restored his soul, he says, brought him back to being a poet. Now, his father was a poet, and you see, his father is one of the great romantics, first romantics of American history, American poetry, and American literature. And so this word romantic, it means something to him. It's not just kissing and, you know, holding hands. It means that rocks talk to you. He's a great believer in that biblical tradition where the wind is an angel, you know, angelic, and carries messages. And then rocks will cry out if we don't, you know. So that's what he was thinking of. And he'd come off a rough time, and he's a kid and he's a long way from home, and he wants to have his soul restored, and that rock restores him. Now the second time he comes in is one of the more exciting passages of the book, was when he's anchored and they've got to throw the hides down, and a hide gets stuck along those cliffs, and you know, up in those cliffs there, and he has to go up and get them. And then while they're getting these hides, the storm comes in. So we'll talk about that. This is Dana Point in the morning. This is a Sunday morning. It's a beautiful Sunday morning. Now the other folks, the agents and stuff, had walked all the way down around this and then on up to the mission, up the creek. But this is the little, you know, notch in the coast of California that gives him solace when he needs it most. Point Loma is actually what's safer and a much nicer. But the rock in Point Loma doesn't impress him as much as it impresses me. So this is the rock here that impresses Dana. Okay, let's look at this. You see the book here? Okay, so let's look at this romantic passage. This is the old Harvard edition, you know, this sort of a cool edition, Harvard Classics. There's so many editions of this book. Public domain book. So, here again in this romantic spot, this is the second time he came in. In this romantic spot, a perpendicular hill, twice the height of a ship's masthead, with a single circuitous path to the top, and a long sand beach at its base, with a swell of the whole Pacific breaking high upon it, and our hides ranged in piles on the overhanging summit. The captain sent me, who was the only one of the crew who had ever been here before, to the top to look around and pitch hides down. And then they'll load them on the boat. These are cow hides that they're going to send off to Massachusetts to make shoes out of. Okay? And so what happened was a dozen or 20 hides get lodged in recesses on the hill. No one was willing to go up, but he volunteers. You know, he's a little David kind of guy. And then, but they sent for a pair of top gallant studding sail halyards. These are their longest halyards. And then they're going to put two of them together, and he's going to come down from the top and knock those off. And they think, oh, you're a damned fool, you know, for doing it. But he has this great exciting moment as a kid saving these hides. And then, you know, storms coming in. While they're carrying the hides to the boat, I perceived that they're, you know, what we were too busy to observe, but that the black clouds were rolling in from seaward, a strong swell heaving in, every sign of a southeaster. Now that's the key. You see, is you got this southeaster. This is Dana Point here. You see, and the winds and swells and currents tend to be this way, and so that creates a place in here that's out of the major swells. The swells are the biggest issue, the winds are secondary. And so this blue area here, that's shallower water, and he says he's in 6 fathoms, so he's probably anchored somewhere along where that breakwater is right now. And he's up on these cliffs here throwing hides down. He does his fun rappel down the cliff, and then they realize the storm is coming from southeast. Okay, a southeaster. No, that's a southwest. Southeaster coming up this way. And a southeaster, that's the most dangerous swell. Now, before this breakwater is built here, the surfers called this Killer Dana. There's a huge wave. There was apparently a monster huge wave. In the proper storm from the southeast, coming in, a huge wave. And that's what they start to see, is these huge waves that develop here. And those waves can tug at a boat and pull it from its anchor, just the swells, because the swells get an angle on the boat. And so they got to get this boat out of here. So they got to row out to the boat and then head out. And it's a very exciting passage where they got to up anchor, they got to get the sails up, they get the hide stored, and so this very small crew of a boat called the Alert, and this boat, I named it the Alert for this reason, has one of the most exciting passages in 2 years before the mast, when it tries to get out of Dana Point during a southeaster. All right, just close off our little history moment here. History is fun. Always remember that. Okay, this is a Dana 24. That's what we're sitting in. That's what I'm anchored in. This is what I own. It's a beautiful boat. It was built here in Santa Ana. It's around the corner of these mountains. But it's a heavy, seaworthy, wonderful boat. And they named it after Richard Henry Dana. And this is Dana Point, named after Richard Henry Dana. This is the junior, the one that came out here. And he wrote this book. It's a book that Kevin Starr calls this a book that raised a sort of different consciousness. It created a type of consciousness. And here in Orange County. And it's a religious consciousness. It's a romantic consciousness. It's a consciousness that God speaks to us. And then politics and religion, really develop out of this, and not out of this book, but it's like this conscious, it's a mystical sense that Kevin Starr, who's a great California historian, writes about this book, and this calling this Dana Point in 1962 in reference to those passages in this classic book that really sort of create our situation, why this is worth watching, right? And there's old Dana there. I got a picture of Dana here in his youth. He's a wonderful guy. I did those other videos about his life on the other things. This is where I wanted to give you his, really the core of the book, Here's Richard Henry Dana. Where we were. This is what the whole point looks like here. It's getting some erosion under that house there, a little hubris. And then I'm headed up. We'll leave from here's Dana Point, and then I'm going up to the next point, which is Point Furman under San Pedro, and then around Point Vicente.